as we take this moment to breathe into this divine magnificence, breathing the breath of God that is in each and every one of us, that is this divine magnificence called you. So as we take the breath of God, the love of God, we set this intention right here and now in this moment as we embrace the breath of God that is this entire universe, this spiritual universe that is unfolding and expanding ever so much right now. We know that the greater good is happening in this moment, that we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual principles that is unfolding and birthing in such a way that is blessing us as we get out of the way, let the old go, and step into the unknown of infinite possibilities, the unknown of equality, the unknown of justice and love for all. So we step into this wholeheartedly, and we recognize that this new breath of God that is coming through, it is magnificent. And we can trust that in the breath, the divine solution, the divine right action takes place right now. And in that nowness, it frees us all. But until then, none of us are free. 'Cause if you can hear their voices still calling across the years, and they're crying across the ocean, and they're crying across the land, and they're crying until we understand. None of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. And there are people still in the darkness, and they just can't see the light. If you don't say it's wrong, then you're saying it's right. We got to feel for each other. Let our brothers know that we care. Got to get the message out, send it loud and clear. 'Cause none of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. Now I swear your salvation is too hard to find. None of us can find it on our own. We've got to join together in spirit, heart, and mind. Let every soul that suffered know they're not alone. None of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. Well, if you just look around you, you're gonna see what I say. 'Cause the world's getting smaller each and every day. It's time for us to make changes, and it's time for us to realize that the truth is shining right before your eyes. 'Cause none of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. Oh, none of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. 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 If just one, if one of us is chained, then none of us are free. Get it, Linda L. Hot diggity dog. She's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I am so excited to get ready for tonight, to step into this beautiful first of many more to come. Kitchen conversations, because you know, everything happens in the kitchen. So we are stepping into the kitchen with our first wonderful panel of beautiful spirits that are a part of the Universal Spirit Center that have come forward to share their stories, to share their heart and their spirit. As we are growing and learning, for those that don't know the importance of being present for Black Lives Matter, for those that don't realize that any life that isn't respected and loved and cared for, it is our life too. So I'm so happy tonight that I have this first beautiful panel that's coming forth to share kitchen conversations with you. Let's bring the panel on. Oh, look at there. So let me introduce, we have Fern Nelson. Fern, wave to everybody, say hi.
Hi.
We have Charles Stewart. Charles, say hello to everyone.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Charles. And then right there in the middle monitor, we have Otis Andrews. Otis, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Very good. And here in the studio with me, I have Sharonda G. Morris, practitioner. Come on in, Sharonda. Everybody's all in. Very good. So first off, let me thank each of you for saying yes to coming in and showing up in this way. Yeah, let's bring Sharonda's, just bend it over. There we go. Fantastic. Bring her mic in. So I'm gonna throw a question out in the cooking pot. I'm gonna throw it out there, and I'm gonna see whomever wants to answer the question first. Because what I sent out was, what is it like to be Black in America? Who wants to answer that? And let me say this. I want all of you to give an answer because we don't all have the same answer. So whomever wants to go first, what is it like to be Black in America? All right, Sharonda.
I'll start.
Right into the mic.
For me, it's twofold. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina, and I've been here since I was 2 years old in California. So I always, how do I say that? I always resonated more towards the white communities. So I really didn't get in touch with being Black until my maybe late 30s, early 40s. I just started recognizing that I'm Black. And more of my friends and everyone I associated was white. However, what's it like now as of 2020 with what we're facing now? This whole experience is showing me that being Black is in America now. I've heard so much about white privilege, but for me, it's a privilege to be Black. It's a little bit right now disconcerting. It's hurting. It's sad. It's ugly. It's depressing. But at the same time, for me, being Black in America now in 2020 in this 21st century, it's empowering.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Who else?
I'm certainly ready to talk. That's a huge question, of course, and we could go on with that for the whole panel. But I'm a Black person before I'm anything else. I'm a Black woman before I'm a woman. And I grew up in Detroit, and, back in the 60s, it was certainly Black and white. And only since then has the word changed to incorporate other cultures. Existed pretty much in both worlds, a lot in the Black world when I'm in the Black world, and the white, frankly, when I'm in the professional world. And I think when people see me, they're a Black woman. They don't just see me as a woman. And as being a Black person, there are a lot of assumptions that come with that. Some are true, some are not true, but I would never be mistaken for white. I would never be mistaken for somebody that grew up with white privilege. So yeah, I'm Black, and noticeably so, and think everybody feels or they feel anything else coming from me.
Beautiful, thank you. Charles or Otis?
I'll go. I was born and raised in Louisiana in a small town. My grandfather on my mother's side is white, and my father's father, my grandfather on my father's side, was black. My black grandfather was a successful businessman, and sometimes because of my black grandfather's success, and the white grandfather, sometimes I felt in the middle, wondering, where do I belong in this picture? And unfortunately, it was that way for quite some time. I simply made an effort to extend to my black brothers and sisters, but it was a challenge. During desegregation in 1970 is when things really changed. Coming to a white school for the first time, I still felt the same way. I was one of the kids selected to be a part of the white class. And the black kids wanted to know, well, why did you get to go to this class? And I said, look, I was told to be here and I am here. But what my mother told me that resonated with me, she said, love God, love yourself, and love others. And just know no one's better than you, nor are you better than anyone else. She said, you'll be fine. Because I wondered, I need some guidance or direction, and that's the direction she gave me, and it has stayed with me all my life, really. And when I see people, yes, I absolutely see their race, but I do not stay there. I want to know, are they kind? Are they funny? Do they have something in common with me, sports, etc.? So yes, race, I am not colorblind. I absolutely see race. But I go beyond that to look for the person. What has God brought before me? And that's how I live my life. So that's, for me, what it's like being black in America.
Thank you, Otis. I think Charles is having a little hearing problem. Charles, can you hear me? Charles? We had Charles before. I don't know. We see you, but I don't think he can hear us. Don't know what's happening there. We're working on that. So while we're still working on that, Fran, you mentioned something that's really interesting, because a lot of times black folk have to be two folk. We can be black people here, but in the workplace, we tend to have to be something else. Or,
Yes.
you know, we exude a different persona than when we're away from other people.
Yes.
How does that affect you?
I think that's been a part of my life from the very beginning. So I'm used to it. Much like what Otis said, so similarly to what Otis said, I lived in a neighborhood. I originally went to a black elementary school. My parents bused me to a white junior high because they wanted me to know that white people and black people are the same in terms of they're smart ones, not smart ones of each race. They're nice ones, not nice ones, funny ones, not funny ones. So they wanted me to know, as Otis said, that everyone has their own talents, and just because someone is of one race or another, they are not necessarily better or worse than anyone else. So that was a really good lesson for me. And then college, I was pretty much at a white college, and that was in the 70s when we were in the real black power movement, and there was a black table and all that, but still we were within a white world. And in my professional life, I've been in white universities, the only black person in my department for 20 years in Chicago and 20 years out here in UCSD. And I do act differently at times. I mean, in a professional area, I'm always different than if I'm in a social area. But even, I'm a physician, so even seeing patients when I'm seeing white patients, it's more, you know, formal. And if I see a black patient, it's kind of like a recognition. It's kind of like, kind of a little, I don't want to say more happy, but there's that recognition of being black. So there might be a little more, I don't know what to say, just a little more depth perhaps to the unspoken connection that we might have. So it's part of being in this world to negotiate when you're of two races, I think, no matter what those two races are.
Great. It,
Yeah.
Can I keep it real?
yeah.
Okay. So, I love the question. I love the question because I adapted to being in an all-white environment all the time.
Okay.
However, I was told by, as I was growing up, that there was a God was a white man's God. So in that vein, also with work, there's the white man's job that I had to perform well for.
Okay.
So I was your average, as they said, Uncle Tom. So I conformed, and so in the works I was totally different. I spoke like this. Black people don't talk like me. They don't enunciate and even come up with that word. And so I just felt and looked different, and acted different in the realm of, that sect. Now when I'm around my friends and everyone else, you kind of, you put you lay everything down. You take off the coat, and you're just, all of a sudden you're black again. I mean, it didn't go anywhere, but there you are. Here we are.
No.
I think Charles is back. Charles, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Beautiful.
Oh,
So,
good.
Charles, and we're going to come back to this. The question that was asked, what is it like to be black in America? What is that like for you?
It's been very, very difficult not belonging, not knowing, understanding why I was hated by the white, and then coming from the South, Arkansas, and I went to all segregated school, and I had black teachers and all that. That gave me some history, but the outside world was like the restaurants and everything, that it just was color only, and you were prohibited from going to the swimming pool, or you couldn't do this, and there was a lot of things that you were restricted to do, and it was just difficult. And I am part of the civil rights movement back in the '60s, and I marched and I protested, and I went to jail. So I did the experience on it, and this time I believe it's so different. I believe that this is the right time. I think this is the time that we can make some forward movement. And I felt like I represented all the black people. For some reason, I felt like I represented black people. And
Now, do you
every
feel
time
that, or
someone
do you
did
feel that
something,
people, a lot of times when we're asked a question, it's like, well, what do black people want? As though you have the answer for every black person.
right?
That you have the one answer.
Even OJ thing, I was like, it was just, all of that was just, I hope he didn't do it. I hope it didn't happen, and all this. And Emmett Till, I was hoping, I felt that hurt and that pain. And anytime that something went on, like a mass shooting or killing, I would say to myself, oh God, I hope there's not a black person to do this, that did this. And it just seemed like I represented the black race. But now I understand that that was part of being racism, the racist idea that I should carry that burden. I don't have that responsibility.
Beautiful. Otis, I know you didn't get a chance to answer. The other question that I asked Charles was the two different hats, or the different faces of blacks. That there's when you're a black person and you're hanging out with your family and your friends if they're all black, and then if you're in a working situation or you're hanging out with a mixed group of people, white and black, do you change? Are you a different person?
Yes, yes, yes. Um, I've tried to explain my position, or just say Black Lives Matter. I try to explain that, like, but it would become like they become very defensive. It was hard to just for them to understand that they have a different reality than what I have,
Right.
and it was just hard to explain that.
Otis?
Thank you, Gino, for that question. In terms of the work environment, I am a part of the Black ERG, that's an employee resource group,
Okay.
the LGBTQ plus group, the Pride group, the women's group. I like diversity in terms of sex, color, age. That's me. And that's how I was brought up by my mother, to appreciate and love everyone.
Yes.
And I must say, unfortunately, I do not have a black circle of friends per se. So, to some degree, that I wouldn't be able to address what that would look like. But occasionally, when I have relatives that visit and when I mix the groups, some black relatives do not quite mesh with my white friends. So, but I remain the same. I remain the same. So for me, it's not different. It's the same.
Well, now we kind of went around it because, you know, within our own families, we can call each other Uncle Tom or you a sellout. You know, these are things that, me personally, I feel that the prejudice and the racism that's been put on us, then we cast that back into our families. And we started breaking down, you know, if the dark-skinned ones in the family, the ones with the bigger lips, or wider nose, they're more black than, you know, the high yellow. You know, I'm from the Midwest. It was high yellow. Oh, she's a high yellow little one. So, you know, we have all these things within our own families that when families would get together for the holidays, you know, the family members that went to school, went to college, they were considered the bougie, Uncle Tom. The ones that did not, they were considered sometimes like the hood rat. You know, I mean, so these names that we've given ourselves, and families have different names, but we know we've all had those type of conversations. How does that affect you? How does that make you feel that there's two parts of you, in essence? Because you love your family, but there's also this dream of creating a better life. And so you send your kids to school, you go to college, which those are beautiful things. And to still have that feeling that you're not enough. Was there a question in there? So I'll go to you, Fern. Have you had those moments in your family?
You know, I want to say yes, but no. I mean, even my mother was really light, and she's from Nashville. My dad was really brown, and he's from Pittsburgh. But we grew up I grew up in Detroit. We are a black family, and while I guess parents had such a difference in their color, their actual pigment. that certainly was known, and it was around Detroit and whatnot, but it's sort of like black inclusive no matter what, and it's all kind of a big family, even if you are different among yourselves, but that is a completely separate world than the white world. And back then it was just black and white. There were no, frankly, Hispanics or any other race in Detroit. That was not happening. But and we were never brought up to think we weren't enough. We were as good as and should out there doing everybody else could do. And so yeah, there were some people in our social circle that were high yellow or, maybe as bougie or more bougie than we were, but yeah, more bougie. Definitely we were bougie. Anybody that's middle class is really thought of as bougie. But I don't know if that answered your question or not. That's how it was in my.
Anyone else want to speak to that?
Sure. I'd like to add to that. When I was younger, my mother, many people had the idea, what is this white woman doing with these black kids? Because my mother looked like a white woman. Her father is white. And she would, of course, always say, I am a black woman. And the response would be, well, you don't look like one. And I remember hearing those words. And the other thing, in terms of our family, we were lighter complected, all of the Andrews. And I wasn't really aware until I began to grow up that, wait a minute, that's being a lighter complected black person is not better than a darker complected black person. So my thinking evolved as I grew older and understood what was happening within our own race in terms of looking at different shades of color and knowing, look, we're all black people. If you're dark complected, light brown, medium brown, any type of brown, I mean, we're the same. And just as we want our white brothers and sisters to love us for who we are, and we should love them for who they are, within our own race, we had to have some growth in that area of shades of color within our own race. So it was definitely a factor in my family.
Thank you, Otis. Charles?
I felt that the colors did make a difference. If you was a lighter color, then you got more privileges. I remember when we was demonstrating and marching to integrate the school, and we got that done by going to jail and doing a lot of things. So the next school year, they chose people to go to the white school, and those people that they chose, they was all like light complected, curly hair. So it made me think like, that my color was second, or it wasn't good. It wasn't the best color, So it did imprint me.
Yeah. Yeah, I might just say to that a fair amount of data that supports the fact that the lighter your complexion is, the more you are to get a job, the more likely you are to get a promotion, the more likely you are to move forward in maybe not in school, but in the overall world. You'll get more breaks the lighter you are. When you look at some of our newscasters, and it's changed a bit over the years, but when you look at the newscasters, when you look at many of our actresses and actors, the lighter, possibly it was easier for you to get a job the lighter you were.
Yeah, that's absolutely all through. And when was the first time somebody called you the N-word?
Excuse me just a minute.
I can answer
And
that
then
question.
well, I'll tell my story. I'm from the
Oh,
Midwest,
go ahead.
and I'm from St. Louis. And I really started thinking that I think my mom kept me very sheltered. But at 16, I got a driver's license. And I could do what I do. I could travel around, go to different places and see different people. And so my friends and I, we found this mall, the Jamestown Mall. I still remember the name of it, and it was really out in one of the suburbs of Missouri. And we went out there to the movie, had a great time. We're walking back, and there was a truck that pulled up right alongside me, and he called me the N-word and threw a beer at me. And I was furious. I remember running to my car, and my friends were calling me, Gino, Gino. I was getting in my car to go chase them. It's a good thing with the energy that was running, I didn't, because who knows what would have happened. But that moment changed me. It changed the way I looked at people. It changed the way I thought about myself. And so the ride home with all of us sitting in the car was just silence. Now, my mother put me in Catholic school. So, but even in our community, in the Catholic school, the majority of the kids in my school were all black. And I remember that ride home, we said nothing. And when I shared it with my mom, she said, Gino, there are areas that you cannot go in. You think you can go wherever you want to go. You cannot. That's not your area. And I was really pissed off. But that was my first experience of someone calling the N-word. Don't all speak at one time.
Well, I'll tell you a story from yesterday.
Go ahead.
Or
Go
the
ahead,
day
Fran.
before. My boyfriend was driving in his beautiful car, and there's a homeless person on the street, and he thought about giving this homeless person some money. It was a homeless white person. My boyfriend's black. So there's a homeless white person on the street, and he just didn't have any small change, so he said to the guy, I'm sorry, I don't have any change. And that guy yelled the N-word at him. So here's a homeless white person on the street yelling the N-word at a beautifully dressed black man in a fabulous car. So, you know, what can you say?
Yeah. Anyone else?
My first
I
time.
had an experience. I had an experience in 1997 in North Park. I lived in North Park at the time. And I was getting out of my car. This guy drove down the street, yelled the N-word to the top of his voice. And I turned and looked. I thought, is this a dream? Is this for real? And I thought, wow. It didn't anger me. It saddened me. And I said, I don't know who you are, but I'm so sad for you. That was the feeling and thought that came over me when that happened. But it really shocked me. I thought, 1997? So it really surprised me.
Wow.
I'll
I
share
grew up
mine.
in a-
It was not recently. My parents moved us here from, like I said, Charleston, South Carolina, back in 1968, 69. And I started my schooling here, and I was going to the second grade. And you have to remember, my parents are coming from Charleston, South Carolina, so they're just off of the civil rights movement. That's still steeped deep within them. The whites only, colored only, that is steeped in my parents. So I was off to my first day in the second grade, So this would be what, 1970, 71, and just a kid, oblivious, never heard this word before. But my daddy said, he said, if you hear anyone call you, well, he didn't say the N word, you have my permission to punch them in the mouth. You get to do that. And I'm like, okay, whatever the word is, that's my, reason to punch. So I go to school, and lo and behold, this little girl, I remember her name to this day. I even looked up on Facebook last year, and she's still around. Little girl, and unfortunately, she wasn't white. It was a Hispanic. The paradox. Think of how bizarre was that? It was, and she said, and I went, whoa. And of course, Daddy said, and I didn't get in trouble for it because I had permission from Daddy to be that. I never knew what the word meant until later on in life, and to this day, for some reason, it doesn't. You can call me that. I'll get pissed off, but it doesn't go to the core. So maybe as an old soul back, something happened when he told me that, and I hit her, didn't get in trouble. I don't know what the disconnect is with the word, but that was my first experience, second grade, and I don't believe I've been called it since. A homeless person said it, drunk because of COVID-19, and I was first place in line, so God bless her. But other than that, this is my second. So second grade, 21st century. That's it for me. So other than that, I hear it more in music than I hear it at all.
But wait a minute, I just got to visit. So just recently, you were in line somewhere, and a homeless guy, woman called you the N-word?
It was, God love her. She was just mad. She sneezed. And I said, that's not nice. You need to cover that. You're not even wearing a mask. And she said, shut up. N-word. She, And, and I chuckled, but I did have some choice things. It's because people are looking at me, and I said, that wasn't kind. Don't say that again. I've matured.
You didn't hit it.
No, I had the license to hit her, but I didn't.
You have the license to hit. Daddy said you could hit. Charles, what about you?
I didn't hear it from my siblings, my family. I heard it when I went to school, maybe like in maybe a high school, close to high school, grade school, and I heard it, and they was like using it affectionately. It wasn't used. It was used by another black person affectionately. So I kind of, but I didn't use it. But I would hear it. I couldn't go back home and use that. But I guess when Richard Pryor and people started using that word, and it became like, I'm thinking like he can't, but he started to say words like that, and people started using it. So the first time a white person said something to me like that was in Germany, and it was a Brazil nut, and he asked me, "What do they call this nut?" And I said, "Whoa!" So I said, "Brazil nut." He said, "No, don't they call this N?" And I hit him. So
he thought they called the nut the N-word.
Yeah, they do. They call it the heel. They have a slang for some reason.
Then they call it end toes.
Yeah, something like the end toes. Yeah. So so that was the first time that a white person said that, and I'm glad that people stopped us, and it didn't go. It did just one lick, but it was like, why did you? It was. But I've heard it quite a few times from the police officers and things. So, but it's not a pleasant word to hear. I don't like it. I don't like to hear it.
Well, you stepped that very gracefully right into my next question. It is about the police. I know I have been stopped by the cops a time or two or three. The Culver City cops, when I lived in LA, were vicious. They were really mean. And I guess I shouldn't say that as a blanket statement, but I will say that the other people that I knew in Culver City that were black people all had some similar um, encounters with just a simple traffic stop. The things that were said and how they would treat black men and black women. I remember one time I got stopped in Culver City. I was a little bit of a speed junkie. And the cop pulls me over, and, you know, I've been told, put your hands on the wheel. You know, be respectful of the police officers. Yes, officer. He wants to see my license and registration. I show it to him. And he and his partner start laughing. I had a fever blister on my lip. And he said to the cop on the other side, "Oh, look what this monkey got. Get out the car, monkey." So I look at him. And my hands are on the wheel. And I guess I hear my mother's voice going in my head because I'm really hurt and offended. I know that fever blister is there and it's not attractive, but monkey is a bit of a stretch. "Monkey, did you hear me? Get out of the car." So I get out of the car. He takes me in front of the car and he makes me put my hands on top of the hood. Now I've been driving, so the car is hot. And I just started to cry. The tears for me was the powerlessness that I felt, that I couldn't say anything, couldn't do anything, and then that Sagittarius came out. And I cussed that man. I did. I cussed those officers. They wanted it, I wanted it, so now they take me to the precinct. And they sit me in the middle of the aisle in the Culver City Police Department. And they're making jokes. "Oh, go look at the monkey that we have sitting out there." And they're coming around and they go, "Ooh, this monkey been playing with another monkey that's not a good," and they just got all type of jokes. And I'm just sitting there crying. And they kept me there for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 hours. And finally, when they decided to let me go, I remember the cop that initially, he was coming back off duty, came up to me and said, "Now, little monkey, what are you going to say to me?" And I said, "I'm sorry, officer," because I wanted to go. So, of course, people hear that and they think, well, all cops aren't bad. And no, all cops are not bad. But there were just as many cops in that, in the police department that said nothing, that did nothing. So, have any of you had any encounters with the police where, to me, they weren't doing justice? They were out for their own thing. Even maybe why they stop you. Sometimes they stop because you're in a nice car, or you're in a neighborhood that looks like you shouldn't be there at that time.
Yes, I'd like to share. I lived in Mission Hills many years ago in a historic home, and I lived near the mayor, Roger Hedgecock, actually. And I left my place. I was going to the car. It was parked on the street. And this cop car started coming down the street. And they were going extremely slow. And I thought, okay. I saw no one else on the sidewalk either side. And I thought, oh my goodness. They were just pacing with me, going extremely slow. I was walking up the street. And I got in my car and I left. And I was breathing. I thought, what are they doing? That was the first time. The second time, I actually had already gotten out of my car. It happened again. Driving really slow, and I'm thinking, are they wondering where I'm going? When I unlocked the door and went inside, it ended, but I thought, you gotta be kidding me. So that was, for me, disappointing. And my brother, God rest his soul, he was a policeman for many years. I shared that story with him, and he indicated the hiring practices and training. He said it's all over the nation. It's just lacking. But that experience really disappointed me. They were assuming maybe I was up to something, but that was a form of harassment for me. And it really, really disappointed me. It really disappointed me.
Thank you. Okay, no one else?
I was waiting for Charles to talk. Charles, were
Always
you going to
like
comment?
Wait,
I
what did you say, Fred?
I got out of the AIT in Fort Polk, Louisiana, '68. Um, on my way to my next duty, which would be Vietnam, and we was going to the airport to catch a plane back to where I was living, was in St. Louis. So on the way to the airport, there was a sergeant that was going. So he gave us a ride. It was a white sergeant, so he gave us a ride to the airport. We get to the airport, and the plane was standby, so we had to wait. I think another got bumped off the plane, so we needed some more time, like 5 hours or something. So we leave the airport to go get something to eat in Shreveport, Louisiana. So we gone to this place and went inside, and it was the wrong place to go in. And so this guy, somebody that came up and said, "John, I'll be back when the place lighten up a little." And then somebody said something in my group, said, "Well, what do you mean we come back with, you know?" So it ended up, we said, "Okay, we're going to leave." So we leave there and go to a drive-in. So we're going to eat outside. So we pulled into the drive-in, and the curb service came up to us. And by that time, it was like about 10 police cars came in with guns, and they put us all on the, made us get out of the car, get on the sidewalk. I mean, lay on the sidewalk. They took us to jail. Um, while we were in jail, there was a sergeant that was on this podium. It was a real tall podium, and he and I was telling him about the service that I was doing. I'm a military person, and all we were trying to get something to eat. And he told me, he said, "N, shut up, N, shut up." And so someone heard him that had like a, I guess he had some, uh, he was a detective or something, maybe a mayor, I don't know. But he heard me, and he said, and he asked the sergeant, "Why are they here?" He said, "Well, they started disturbing the peace at this place." And by the way, they did take us back to the place and made us pay for the food that we didn't eat because we had ordered it, and we left without taking the food because it was something that happened. So, well, just cancel that order. We're leaving. He said, then we leave, and so they call the police. We are, and they had us in the jail, in the jailhouse. And this sergeant was on this thing. He said, "N, shut up." And this guy said, "Why are they here?" And he told him, and he said, well, just charge them of disturbing the peace and then let them go. So they charged us like, I think, $50 disturbing the peace. And we leave out of there and we go back to the airport. It was in time for me to catch my plane. But it was just like, it was the most horrible thing I could. I was so afraid that they were going to kill us, that they had guns pointing at us over disturbing the peace. They said because we didn't pay for we didn't pay for the food, that we canceled the order. I said, "No, well, we're not going to eat here. Just cancel that order." And that ended up being the a Torah was a hard time.
Thank you, Charles.
It's really hard to hear, especially you're getting ready to go to Vietnam and you're getting ready to get shot here in the States.
Yeah.
That's just so hard to hear, Charles.
But we was
I'll
telling
just
them
say,
all,
I
you know,
think,
telling yeah.
They're soldiers.
I think for me, I think women have a little bit easier time with the police. I know that you didn't have a good time, Gino, but I've had very little interaction with police, and almost, I could actually say every black man I've ever known has had a bad run-in, at least one, with a police officer. Yeah, just for, walking while black, jogging while black, driving while black, anything while black. I would say every man I know has at least one really awful story about interaction with police. I only have little tiny lightweight stories, nothing worth mentioning really. Yeah.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you.
That's true. I have no run-ins with the law, but in anticipation of it, after our George Floyd incident after that weekend, the following weekend when La Mesa burnt down and all that happened, the following Sunday, I'm on the 94. And usually I have on my music, I have my little dog, and I'm just cruising. And because, unfortunately, the back of our heads, we're trained to, if they pull up behind you, they pull you over, you know the drill. For me, in anticipation for it happening, if I'm on the freeway, I just slow down and just go my way. But if I'm on a city street, they're behind me. I go to the NPR station. There's no music, so I'll blast NPR. I'll pick up the little chihuahua and hang it out the window and smile, so that I don't look like I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to the store. But it's an anticipation, so I don't get in trouble. I just and that's so sad, but that's what I do. It works, obviously. Yeah. But that's my go-to. NPR, blast it, both hands in the chihuahua here, and do it. Play the role, and that's the way we are living. Well, I'm living. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Did everyone answer? I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, there is this how do I want to say it? This racism that's up underneath everything. It's not the N-word in your face. It's the way you're looked at. I remember one time I'm dining with some friends, and the waitress, although I was right here, she went to the end of the table and started. And then I said, because they weren't sure, I said, "Oh, I know what I want. I'll get to you when I get there." All right. And so, I don't say anything to my friends, but then I start watching, and I notice I'm the last one to get the water. When the food comes, everybody gets their food. She got to go back 3-4 times for my food. And I don't know if it's conscious. For some, it definitely is conscious. But there's the undercover racism that's happening, that somebody, the grabbing of the purse when you're walking, or the comment that's made that reference, "Oh, I see you're a person of color." Have any of you had those experiences?
Day, girl. That unintentional bias.
Yes.
Definitely. I see it every single day, and I'm very conscious of it. Some will think maybe hyper conscious, but when I go to a restaurant, I see that white tables got seated after me, and the waitress goes there first. I notice it, and I will call the waitress over. Here I am in my white coat in the office with three secretaries sitting at their desks, and the UPS man gives like the thing, he wants me to sign it, you know. Um, oh gosh, every single day there is I don't know if it's unintentional bias that they're not aware of that kind of bias. It is because I'm aware of it. It's in every single day of my life. Whereas my nephews are, 25, 30, they grew up in a different generation. They're almost unconscious of it. It has to be straight out in their face and for them to even barely notice it. So, yeah, that's my comment on that.
Well, I would imagine, Fern, because you're an educated woman, that surprises a lot of people sometimes of your level of education and that you have been a teacher of many. That's a whole different undercover uh, bias that I'm sure being
Yeah.
in the profession that you're in.
Oh yeah. They'll ask me if I'm a nurse or if I'm there to draw their blood, or and that part doesn't even bother me as much. Yeah, it's all pretty annoying, frankly. Yeah. 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 What can I say?
I have, time I came to San Diego maybe 2011, and I was living in Rancho San Diego. So I found this yoga studio in South Park. So I started going there, and I just really love it. It's really treated me, it just suited me just perfectly. I met friends, and I'm walking down the street, and I'm talking to people. I get to know the store owners, and it was a store owner right next door was a hair shop, it was a hairdresser, and so I would say hi to him and talk to him and everything. And about 2 or 3 years, 2 years, I got an opportunity to move into South Park. So I mentioned to him, I go, I'm moving into South Park. And he go, there goes the neighborhood. I said, whoa. But he said it, and I just, he floored me, but I just couldn't believe he said that. He said it and laughed, but that was, that was a pretty good shot.
Well, understanding that racism is a system that we were, black people, were meant to stay in certain areas, not to be able to buy property in different areas, and the saying that we don't take care of our property, the property value goes down. All of these things, just as recently as last year, they had two women, a black woman and a white woman, go into two prospective banks. Now, on paper, these women were identical. And this was just last year. The white woman, they're both buying a house in the same area. The white woman got a lower interest rate. And what was so funny, because on paper, you don't know who's white or black, because they've taken that question off. And so they're asking, why did this woman have to pay more interest than the other woman? And they were like, oh, well, she went to a bank that was 2 blocks over from the bank that, it was the same company, the exact same company. And so you're left with this, sometimes, I don't want to think that it's all intentional, but I also believe that it's been done so much that it's like, this is just what we do. This is how it should be done. So with that being said, bringing us to Black Lives Matter, where we are right now, what do you want our white brothers and sisters to do? Or do you? To help move us to a different space of living. us being this entire world, planet.
I would like to answer. Thanks for that question as well. Uh, to to communicate, to talk, to I have a story. I have a different. Uh, I have something. It's different reality that is happening to me, and uh, I have this story to tell you. Just listen to me. What I'm trying to tell you. I believe that the blacks are the others in this situation where we are the canary in the coal mine, and things are happening, and trying to tell them that this is hurting us all, for them to understand, to have compassion, to empathize, to, to be a human, to to be able to talk to someone that understand that this my experience is different than your experience. This is what I experienced over and over again. This is what I've experienced in this situation. Getting a home loan, getting an apartment, getting a job, all these things I run right into that. Well, there goes the neighborhood, and it's even though I have been able to maneuver around it, but I still have had those obstacles that is placed there, that I wanted to, that my white brothers and sisters to understand that I'm telling you, this is happening. Hear me, listen to me, talk to me. Don't dismiss it. It is happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
I also would like to add to that in terms of the conversation. Definitely black and white, our black and white brothers and sisters. We do need to have a conversation, whether it's one on one or in a small group. And we do need to be okay with being uncomfortable and to be candid and honest, hearing each other, not agreeing or disagreeing. And we need to examine our biases, both black and white, and where they came from. We might have received messages when we were younger how to respond or react to people that are different from us, or a different color, a different culture or ethnicity. And I think when we have this channel of communication, there's an opportunity for a path to love, compassion, and certainly a path to healing. So I think that is definitely the significance of a conversation. And I do want to briefly say I had a conversation with a white gentleman a couple of weeks ago. He didn't understand the Black Lives Matter, and he felt hesitant to admit that. And I encouraged the conversation. It was absolutely beautiful, a beautiful conversation. And of course, I explained it was about racial injustice and police brutality, but it was a beautiful conversation, just an opportunity for two people to hear each other. And that was just a blessing for me. So that is definitely the start. It's a conversation.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lois.
Well, I'll add in here. I think that what both Charles and Otis said were certainly really important things to do. I've had 3 white friends actually contact me and explain how they never really understood this. They're so sorry they've been so insensitive, and we've had real talks. But I think we need to get out and vote. We need to, I mean, specifically, we need to get out and vote. The young people need to get out and vote. Old people, everybody needs to get out and vote. We need to get rid of Donald Trump. We need to try to shift things back so that our democracy is our democracy, so that it is a centrist government, right or left government. All of this political shenanigans just has to go. All of this empowering of the white radicals and these white racists and the KKK and everybody else, That has been just a disgrace to our country and to democracy. We're the laughing stock of the world because we have a president that just does things that are boggling. I could talk about the pandemic. I mean, defunding WHO, pulling out of the Paris. I mean, what is with this? I mean, and where are we as a people? We are not like a big bloating voting bloc, but we need to get politically involved, even if that's just writing letters to our senators. But we definitely need to get out and vote. We need to, with voting, that's holding our government accountable to us. We just let them slide, so to speak, or we have, and I include myself with that. I include myself with that. Not writing enough letters. How did we let it get to the, well, we know how it got to the point that Black and brown people have worse health care. It was all planned. It's all been systematic. How are we going to address this in a systematic fashion? And that's all in the political realm. We need to buy Black. I mean, it's hard to find. Where are the Black businesses? I recently had, I think, the LA Times that listed 200 Black businesses in LA. I saved that. There's a Black Chamber of Commerce in San Diego. I mean, what do they do? I've not seen a list of Black businesses in San Diego. I'd like to see that. I'd like to get, we have what, $1 billion of buying power in America? And that might be the right number, but it's some huge number. Why can we not do that? Why can we not, if Starbucks stops serving Black people, just not go to Starbucks, everybody, boom, forget it. Starbucks would be out of a lot of money. We need to be educated. We need to get our education. We need to figure out why they're wasting all this money and our children aren't getting educated. If you don't have education, if you're dropping out of high school, where are you going to go in the world? You just can't get there. We need to be able to compete. We need an even playing field to compete. We've got to do that. And we need to own our own property. I mean, these people built Little Haiti I think it's out in Miami, and they're all getting priced out because they're out of the floodplain. So in this area that nobody wanted to build because it's not on the ocean, now everybody's going up there, and they were renters. They're getting moved out of that area. Gentrification, anyway, we need to buy property. We need to own our own businesses. We need manufacturers. We need a lot. And a lot of it is absolutely up to us. And a lot of it has to do with starting with getting back, having a democracy as we know it should be, as it should have been from the beginning of the American democracy, but it has not been. And most of this applies to the whole world. I mean, America is America and it's wonderful. But when I see all the tragedies in the Middle East and everybody's bombing everybody, Africa's just, all of it is just heart-wrenching. But that's what I think we need to do in a minute.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
That was a mouthful. Thank
That's
you,
a friend.
Thank you.
Yes,
You hit a lot of wonderful areas. Thank you.
Thanks.
What Fran said. Exactly. I love really what you said, Fran, and just also Otis. We need to get educated, and we also need to get uncomfortable, and we need to get down and get dirty with the passion and love as a Black people that we have. It's time to get educated, like you said, Fran. Have the uncomfortable conversations. Just stop just waiting. Just stop sitting there waiting. Well, something happened. We're not waiting for something to happen anymore. We've got it. So now what?
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah. And we have so many people of other cultures with us at this moment, and we have the world with us at this moment. What a great moment to be in.
We do have the world with us, and we also have to keep really present that there is a system that has to be broken. The system has to be taken down because the system has kept a lot of people unable to move forward with an education, with credentials. So we absolutely, I think as a Black woman, I have to take my ownership of who I am and not think of myself as a second-class citizen and expect that I am to be respected and that I am to be treated as equal.
I can't hear anything. I think something I heard.
We do have to get out. We've got to vote. People got to vote. But we have to break the system.
And it's still
The system that we have right now does not support people of color, any color. And because we have a few that get, and they've shown us the stats that, yeah, we've had the Oprah, but even still, that's less than 5% of the wealth. And most of us don't have family wealth. Things have been stolen from our ancestors. So this system, this old system that was put into place to keep us in a slave presence of living, in essence. You can't hear, Fern? I think we're having a little technical difficulties. I know they're working it out.
Just speak a little louder. Okay.
Can you hear me now, Fern?
loud.
Yes.
Okay. Charles, I see that
You
you're
have
back. Otis, can you hear me? Okay, I see you shaking your head. Well, we're almost at that bewitching hour. So, is there anything you'd like to say that hasn't been said, or that you want to leave with people that will see this and watch this? And this is part of an education. This is part of a learning and growing experience. So, is there something you want to say to the world now?
I want to just share what I felt after all this ensued. The day after all of this happened, when I woke up and heard the radio, a woman on the radio talking about white privilege. I'd never heard that word before. I was brought up by great parents who just taught me to respect and love and just be a good human being. And I'm a good human being. And I went to school, I worked, and I did my best. I did what I was taught to do. And they brought me up to, the American dream, to live for and get whatever I want. So I felt I was already privileged. I had black privilege. I shopped where I wanted to shop. I did what I wanted to do. I lived like I wanted to live, and everything was wonderful. Excuse me, for me. My parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, you go back. Up to where I am now. I was born for a time like this to shine, only to wake up one morning in March or whenever, May, to find out that I'm not privileged. I'm underprivileged because I'm black. And it broke my heart. And I cry because I have ancestors that have fought for me to be here today, only to find out that I'm, not worth anything. I'm underprivileged, and there's a new box for me to check. And I'm just here. What's on my heart is it's BS. And I'm going to stand up. I'm going to be the proud black woman that my mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, you get the story, what they have instilled in me. There's something in my DNA that lets me know that being black is not a handicap. There's nothing that's wrong with us. So I'm here, and I was born for such a time as this, and so I'm going to run my mouth until I can't anymore.
Thank you, Shirley.
Yeah.
Charles, Otis, Burns, you want to tag anything?
Chino?
And my part,
Yes.
saying black people are a wonderful, loving, kind people, and we have great hearts. We've survived a lot, and because we have great hearts, we're connected with God or Spirit or Source or whatever you want to call it. We'll continue to be strong and endure, and hopefully keep holding up a mirror and letting people look at themselves and just keep going forward.
Beautiful. Thank you, Shirley. Otis?
Yes. In terms of this discussion tonight, it's been absolutely beautiful. And I know that change is definitely happening. It's in progress. I do know just an incident that I observed on TV. There was in Montana a Black Lives Matter protest. There were 3 black people and maybe 300 or 400 white people. And this black guy said, "I am encouraged. I am encouraged. Change is happening. And that was absolutely beautiful. And one other quick thing, I spoke to an elementary school during Black History Month for the last couple of years, and one little kid, Ricky, stood up and said, "Mr. Otis, I have something to say." He said, we're all the same. We all use the restroom." I said, "That is correct, Ricky. We all use the restroom. We're all the same, no matter what color we are." Thank you.
That's fabulous, Otis. Thank you. Charles, is there anything you'd like to say before we sign off? Wait a minute, Charles, can we hear you?
We lost it.
Charles, I don't know if you can hear me because we couldn't hear you. Did you mute yourself? We can't hear you either. I'm sorry. Thank you. If you text me what you wanted to say, I'll make sure that it's shared. So just as we get ready to sign off, this has been a beautiful, beautiful evening. Fern, thank you. Charles, thank you. Otis, thank you. Sharonda, thank you for coming and sharing your space, your heart, and your willingness to share your love and light, and to be a part of the change, as Otis has so joyously said, that is happening. I will share this because it has touched me in ways, and I constantly think about it. I was walking through North Park, and there was a woman that has this huge sign in her window, and it said, "When George Floyd called out for his mama, he called for all mothers." And it always hits me because that's an understanding that there's only one. That we are not a separate people. We are divine people. Just like an almond tree and a walnut tree, it's a beautiful expression. And so we're at this time and this space now for us to collectively live from that space. Kitchen Conversations will be back on the 29th of July. We will have it every first and third Wednesday. It is our intention to shine a light on all different facets of Black lives, so that there is a growing collection of understanding. Just like in any other community, we are all different, yet we're all the same, and we all have different experiences. I have to give much love and prop to Darmini and Sarah for holding the house in the back. Yes, they are running the show tonight, the gathering. So I thank you so much for your love and for your commitment to this divine space. So as we get ready, I want to thank you all. I love you much. We will be in touch. Thank you so much. Mwah. As this is our conscious giving time, I thought this song would be beautiful and perfect. How can I serve today? How can you serve your greater community called life? How can I serve So, just briefly, some announcements. We have amazing classes that are happening right now. Our own beloved Sarah Adams has Grandma Hands that'll be coming up soon. Ooh, ooh. You want to make sure and be a part of that. I know right after that, Dormini will have a class. They're layering it like a beautiful sandwich. You've got the Rev doing white fragility. Then there'll be Sarah piling on some beautiful fragrances. And then coming on top of that, sealing it all, will be Dormini. So you want to stay abreast of what's happening on our webpage. Check us out because we have a lot of things happening that can help you learn, that can open you up for having conversation, the uncomfortable conversation with grace. And just thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing this with whomever you share it with. And if there's someone out there that you want to share your story, get in touch with me. Gino, G-I-N-O, at universalspiritcenter.org. And I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And I'm out there. So if you want to reach out to me, you can. So I want you to take this divine love and space with you. And as we bless this night, not bringing it to a close, but we bless it and hold it in a space of recognizing that we have touched the hem, we've touched the garment, and that we're only going to expand and be more of who and what we are. Serving is part of giving, and giving is part of who and what we are. I love you all. I'll see you next week. We have Kathy Jean Norman, who have an amazing story, how she went from Reverend Kathy to now she has a beautiful product all on Amazon for keto and for sweets that's healthy. So I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. I'm sending this love to you. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me joy. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me peace. I send my peace over the mountain. I send my peace over the sea. I send my peace into the heaven, and it returns. It will always return back to you and me.